we've been up to what we believe is a place called Marsh Farm.
It's
It's
Marsh
at
Farm,
Sandringham. We've been looking at it this week, the last couple of days, and a lot of security fences are going up.
If you believed that Andrew Mountbatten's time at Royal Lodge was over, the housing issues in Windsor weren't that bad. At the exact location he is anticipated to return to, the former Duke of York now seems to be heading straight into a new set of issues. The house is situated on a floodplain, according to previous sources. And there are written warnings about the potential consequences of local pumping systems failing. Even though Andrew hasn't moved in yet, pest control vans, electricians, builders, and security personnel have all been seen at the location. Today, let's examine what is truly going on at Marsh Farm, why there are already worries about it, and what this action indicates about Andrew's current situation. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor resided in Royal Lodge in Windsor for over 20 years. Situated within the Windsor estate, the 30-room building has historically been connected to high-ranking members of the royal family.
News on the front pages this morning that Andrew Mountbatten Windsor is due to be evicted from Royal Lodge as early as next month.
Andrew stayed in the house, even after resigning from his duties in 2019. According to reports over the years, he lived there on very advantageous circumstances and had no personal financial obligation for a home of size. There was a long-held belief that a solution would eventually be found. Either a covert solution would emerge, or the arrangement would continue in silence. That presumption turned out to be incorrect. Before the end of January, Andrew is anticipated to leave Royal Lodge. There's no sign of another extension. The move seems inevitable this time. That represents a significant change in his situation. According to reports, Andrew is relocating to Marsh Farm, which is situated on the Sandringham estate in Norfolk. In contrast to Royal Lodge, Sandringham is not a part of the Crown estate, but rather is privately owned by King Charles. Marsh Farm is neither a palace nor a conventional rural home. It is defined as a working farm property with a number of older structures, some of which are said to have been abandoned for many years. The region is flat, rustic, and intimately linked to the nearby marshes. Locals refer to it as practical countryside, not refined royal living. When you consider the first significant issue related to the property, that setting becomes much more crucial.
Prince Andrew, we need to say now, has been kicked out of his salubrious Royal Lodge home, the 30-room mansion that he was living in with his ex-wife Sarah Ferguson. However, he's going to end up in Sandringham. He has been exiled to Norfolk by the King after his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. However,
The Sun reported that Marsh Farm is situated on a floodplain. According to reports, locals are urged to sign up for flood alerts in case local defenses don't work. Potential issues related to the Wolverton pumping station were identified in a risk assessment carried out on a nearby property last year. According to the research, a long-term mechanical failure or a disturbance in the power supply could cause the pumping station to fail. Emergency flood protocols, including the employment of temporary pumping equipment, would be activated in such circumstances. There is no indication that flooding is near, and the precise likelihood of flooding is yet unknown. However, the risk is real and significant enough to call for official warnings and backup measures. Living at Royal Lodge is very different from that. Royal Lodge is situated on well-kept, elevated terrain, with infrastructure and security measures that have been in place for a long time to safeguard prominent residents. Marsh Farm is not like that. It is functioning land that needs to be actively managed in order to be secure and
Marsh Farm. It's a ramshackle place. It's run down. Is he going to be happy there, Arthur?
I mean, people describe the Sandringham estate as not very nice, but I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, it's just tree-lined. It's absolutely where that farm is.
10 years ago, it would have seemed unimaginable that Andrew might be handling water management plans, emergency pumping equipment, or flood alarms. It is now just a part of his next home's reality. Work at Marsh Farm seems to be going quickly in spite of these obstacles. A high-end entertainment system was allegedly being installed at the residence by Sky VIP specialists in recent days. This implies planning for a long-term stay as opposed to a brief visit. Additionally, tradespeople have been seen utilizing heavy machinery on the job site, installing security lighting, and building a 6-foot wooden fence. According to reports, an excavator is parked on the site, and electricians are working to make sure the structures are up to date. Additionally, there are allegations that internal renovations are being made to what are characterized as dilapidated. farm buildings, some of which have reportedly been abandoned for a long time. This degree of activity implies that the property needed a lot of work before it could be used. The changes seem to be centered around security. CCTV systems are reportedly being put next to fencing. This raises questions regarding access, privacy, and perhaps unwelcome attention. Despite being a part of the Sandringham estate, Marsh Farm is not as remote as some royal homes. Because it is located in the village of Wilton, there are people living nearby and frequent activity. At Marsh Farm, security measures were subtle and well established at Royal Lodge. They are being added quickly and clearly.
It's not on. It's over by the other side of the road. You know, it's not in the actual extended, but it's part of it. And that's to restore that house that time, they're going to have to have a massive amount of work done on it. And I don't think it's going to happen in April because I've been talking to someone up there and he said.
Earlier this week, a command pest control vehicle was seen approaching Marsh Farm, which was one of the most controversial additions. The business has a royal warrant and operates throughout the eastern region of England. It specializes in the humane management of rodents, including squirrels, rats, mice, and wasp nests. The visit has not been officially explained. However, January is a particularly challenging month for rodent activity, according to the company's own guidelines. Rats and mice are driven indoors by cold weather, where they seek warmth in walls and roof areas. When you take into account another stated information, this becomes much more pertinent. Tenants of Sandringham Estate are allegedly prohibited from having cats. This rule may appear insignificant, yet it has real-world implications. Rodents are more likely to become a problem without cats, especially on rural properties. It's possible that the pest control appointment was preventative. It might also imply that problems were already identified while renovations were underway. In any case, it strengthens the notion that Marsh Farm is not a spotless, unspoiled home waiting for a formal arrival. It is a functioning rural property that is being actively prepared. Sarah Ferguson is involved in yet another significant breakthrough. Although she has supported him for many years, a source told the publication that she is now prepared to move on her own. According to the source, Sarah and Andrew have to vacate Royal Lodge by January 25th. But after that, their paths diverge. According to reports, Sarah will not be moving into Princess Beatrix's cot world. Rather, it is reported that Princess Eugenie's residence in Portugal could serve as a temporary base while she weighs her alternatives. This physical separation represents a major shift from the extremely tight post-divorce arrangement that Andrew and Sarah maintained for decades. This distinction is significant for royal timepieces both practically and symbolically. Sarah's presence at Royal Lodge contributed to the preservation of consistency and normalcy. Andrew's relocation to Marsh Farm seems more secluded without her. It also implies that there is more to this change than just logistics. It contributes to the feeling of instability by reflecting a more extensive transformation of Andrew's personal and domestic life. On January 18th, the Times revealed that Andrew would not be moving straight into Marsh Farm.
There's a lot of timings at play here because when is he going to be out? He's got until October to stay there. King wants him out by Easter, but he might actually be out by his birthday, and that's 19th of February. There's a lot of movement in this area. Marsh Farm is where he's going to be on the Sandringham estate.
Rather, it is anticipated that he will reside in a temporary residence while the renovations are finished. There are very little details available regarding this short-term lodging. The location, size, and duration of his stay have not been confirmed. This implies that Marsh Farm might not be prepared for full-time tenancy despite apparent improvements. This time of moving between residences is a big adjustment for someone used to living in one location for an extended period of time. Everything feels rushed in terms of timing. It is necessary to leave Royal Lodge. Upgrades at Marsh Farm are happening quickly. There is active pest control. Security is being set up. There must be a temporary residence. This is all taking place in a matter of weeks rather than months. The amount of activity at Marsh Farm is perhaps explained by this sense of urgency. It also begs the question of whether this is the right course of action under duress or if it is actually settled. Marsh Farm is not without cost, despite the fact that it is frequently referred to as a downgrade from Royal Lodge. There are expenses associated with security systems, fences, remodeling, entertainment installations, and maintenance. This casts doubt on the notion that Andrew is only being forced to live a humble life. It seems like the reality is more complicated. Even though it is smaller and less prestigious, it is still being modified to suit his requirements. The story is evident from the outside. A disgraced former Duke is relocating from a lavish home to a rural one with mice and flood dangers. However, a lot of work is being done behind the scenes to make that property safe and cozy. It is possible for both to be true simultaneously. Questions remain unsolved. Will Marsh Farm be a long-term dwelling or just a temporary fix? How much time will it take to renovate? Will flood mitigation strategies be adequate? Will Andrew continue to attract attention or stay mostly out of sight? The situation is still unstable for the time being. Therefore, flood warnings, pest control, visits, extensive renovations, and a temporary stay somewhere else are all part of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor's next chapter as he gets set to depart Royal Lodge. Do you believe that Marsh Farm will actually be his permanent residence? Or is this merely another little pause during a protracted time of uncertainty? Please share your opinions in the comments section. Additionally, make sure to subscribe and enable notifications if you regularly follow royal news. Additionally, make sure to subscribe